it's actually everybody, and welcome back to Scottish Davros and Friends with Pop Culture. This is the debut episode of the Scottish Davros podcast. So this podcast is just a podcast e so friends and various other YouTubers and content creators who I'll look up to just kick back and have about stuff enjoy and occasionally take the piss out of stuff when you eat podcasts will come up periodical and periodical in the channel because I've got a lot of reviews and other stuff too as well. So this is like something a bit extra on the channel. So without any further ado, she's been on countless he's been on countless streams before or on this channel. She's been she's been in the hosted the year for an use reviews and I do reviews and various other streams. It's another than my friend and Insha. How are you doing, Insha?
It's nice to be on. We've not the two of us been on for a while, so it's always fun, and I always look forward to when we do get together to chat.
Yeah. So I see we've got people in the chat. We've got so we've got my good friend from Alabama, the spider that tunes into my re-record of videos for me and talk about wrestling. And we've got Joseph, we've got Joseph, and you who assumes who assumes a new subscriber and have a feel and he tunes into my FIFA and the free stream. So yeah, so welcome to the channel to all the new subscribers. Recently, so so are obvious. So you haven't really touched on the whole assorted Evis sort of should get us off on the channel. How are you feeling about art? You, you coming back for the benefit of my audiences, because for the benefit of my audiences, obviously, I'm starting to get more, a bit more traction.
I was so surprised initially, I'm not going to lie. I think Russell was always a bit of a, that would be nice sort of comment, but I never thought he'd come back. But the fact that he did was like, yep, wow, Russell's come back. And then I remember I watched some of his more recent stuff. It's a Sin as soon as I heard he was coming back to see what current day Russell's like, because my memories are from 2005 and people obviously change a lot. And I was just more happy once I watched It's a Sin, because that level of writing, it's still there. That level of character and attention to detail and emotions and all the stuff I remember Russell being so good with, he's just got better, I think, in the years. So to have that much of a powerhouse talent back as the showrunner is just brilliant. I can't think of it being nothing but good for the show. And then the other thing that got me quite excited was the Bad Wolf connection, because I do think Doctor Who's never going to completely be out of the BBC's hands, but I think having another big player like Bad Wolf, who's got a lot of creative control, is the feeling I've got. And that was even better, because it's like Russell without having some sort of constrictions possibly of the BBC he might have had before. And having Bad Wolf, who's proven themselves as well. They've had lots of hits. Lots of very good shows out of them.
And I don't mean to cut across today, but hello to my good friend Phil Author. You do some great work on Fever Presents channel, and you're another support or my FIFA and free or the names, and it's a pleasure to have you back in the chat. So so obviously you are a bit so obviously you're one of the more optimistic and you're part of the optimistic engine of fans at the and like as well, because I have a few as I have a few friends in the community that are obviously on the other side to the spectrum. I hope to get some of the on as well, because I don't want it to be just to the on side. I want to get as many different voices.
Well, yeah, and also until we see anything physically on screen, we're all just guessing at the moment. We're all just sort of taking bits of information, whether that's filming we've seen like a tiny snippet of, or something Russell said in an interview. Like, we can't fully know the way this is going to go yet. So it's perfectly, if somebody's a lot more skeptical or a bit more nervous, I completely get that, because there's a lot of pitfalls Russell could fall into. and I fully acknowledge that.
Yeah.
For example, I think the
Yeah.
60th should be sort of basking in the past. It should be nostalgic. It
Yeah.
should be very sort of going back to what works. But then I want Shooty's era to not sort of look back so much. I want Shooty's era to feel like, actually, no, the show's going forward now. It's something different. Hi, Sudoku.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Hi,
want
Sadako.
I don't want
Sorry.
to watch Shooty and feel like, oh, I sort of know these storylines before, or I feel like I know what Russell's doing, and
Yeah,
that's
and like, yeah, and because I was going to come to the trailer on this second, but as a big fan, are you not a bit sort of pissed off that he hasn't been really asked to really come back, because there hasn't really been any sort of um there hasn't been any sort of of spur and old and
I
sort of
think
60 special.
yeah, it's very front heavy Russell with the trailer and the stuff
Yeah,
we know, but I think there's a hell of a
yeah,
lot we don't know about the 60th.
mm-hmm,
I think even
yeah,
Tennant said in like a Comic Con, or he was at a fan event, he even was like, "Oh God, you
yeah,
like what you've seen is a tiny snippet
yeah,
of the whole picture."
mm-hmm,
So
yeah,
I'm just hoping is more like you said of somebody who's Matt is my favourite Doctor, and I'm
yeah,
just hoping that he's there, and they've just hidden it because they want that to
yeah,
be a surprise. Because
yeah,
I think Matt wants that same sort of thing I was talking about Russell. Matt was so young when he was the Doctor. It was really the
yeah,
start of his big career. And he's done so much since, like Russell, but obviously with Matt, it's acting roles. And it's like, I've got about 2 episodes left of House of the Dragon. I got it over Christmas on box set, so I've been binging it slowly. And to see him in that role, it just reminded me of all the things I adored about his Doctor. That's because it's that same sort of verbal acting he does so well. It's that same sort of saying so much in his eyes and his body language. But he's better. He's even like more refined in that skill now. So to see him back on screen in whatever outfit, I would love the tweed jacket myself. That's what I'd love to see him in. Just would
yeah,
let's just say if he gets revealed either in a trailer or they can manage to keep that secret, Daniel, you're going to get the biggest like scream message on Messenger because I'm just going to
oh
fangirl so
God,
badly.
oh God, I look forward. And I thought you were bad to Emma. Oh, you were bad. I thought you were bad when you were talking about how House of the Dragon behind the scenes, and you were talking about Matt's. I've seen me and Charlotte have had almost every conversation you can have, and you can possibly eh, have been
Well, no, but
basically
it's
behind
like
the scene.
there's a brilliant example, and I'll try not to give too much away for story, but I feel like it's been a while since it's been out, so I'm a bit safer for House. But basically, there's
Yeah,
a scene that it got revealed after the fact that it was
yeah,
completely improv, like Matt completely did it off his own bat, and it's basically
yeah,
that the king character of the show sort of walks in to the cast his hall, and at this point of the story, he's very ill. He's like a leper. He's decrepit. He can't even walk, and he's just pushing himself basically. And apparently, completely naturally, the crown he was wearing in the scene fell off just
yeah,
about when he was going to sit
yeah,
on the throne. And Matt picked it up, and this was all Matt's improv. He picked the crown up and put it on the king's head. And another fact which I didn't say, they're brothers, so they're family. and there's a lot of
Yeah.
story about them two. And it's just such a perfect, like, that shows Matt realizes characters. He understands his characters and he gets really in their headspaces. And like they kept that moment
And
in because it's perfect. But that was completely Matt's own doing. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't part of the original scene.
yeah, and it's actually nice to see that his career's finally he's starting to get to high yeah, because he has a to carry at and it's nice to actually you see and just to briefly touch on file for teams from earlier on basically watch anything from 1963 to 2007 all the shit that we've just had in the past few years after that, just ignore it doesn't exist.
Yeah, just
um,
ignore a certain doctor and you'll be fine.
yeah, uh, so yeah, and how to my good friend Matthew Pounder the basic the basic skill he just turns into every this it show how Matthew get it to see in the chat as almost is so yeah.
Yeah, but and also in Shooty very quickly, he's such an infectious personality. Whenever he does promotion, whenever he does an interview, he just you smile and he's got charisma, and I just think I love that just that personality. I can't help but think he's surely going to bring a bit of that to his doctor. And I we need
Yeah.
that. I think we need an optimistic doctor. We need a sort of doctor that can all pull us up and sort of go, look at the universe, it's brilliant, and I'm going to show you it. Like that's what I think we need. And I just off his personality, I think he could pull that off. But we'll see. Like I said, the ultimate proof is going to be when we
I,
see him in on screen, basically.
yeah, so I basically wanted to ask you about the cherry ale. And there's always guys will catch up and we'll talk about different subjects in a second, but I just want to get your thoughts on the cherry ale. Is it better than what you expected? Did it exceed your expectations? Were you disappointed in either?
Well, I wasn't disappointed because I think I knew it wasn't going to be a full trailer. I was like, this is going to be another tease. This is going to be another tiny snippet because it was Christmas and it sort of came out of nowhere. So I was like, this isn't going to be a massive big trailer. And the main bits
Yeah,
is Neil Patrick Harris. We actually got to see him a little bit, and I was getting a
yeah,
really creepy vibe just off the pictures. But actually seeing him, I think he's going to be brilliant. I think he's going to be that sort of really dark, creepy force, which I think the show's needed as a villain for a while. Sort of
yeah.
this utterly chaotic, unredeemable individual. And I think that's a really good idea for the Doctor to go against. And
Yeah, and
somebody who's also incredibly
and
powerful. You get that vibe off him. He's this individual that can just change things and snap things and make things happen very quickly.
uh, and if anybody that doesn't think that that's a toy maker, I don't know what to tell you other than um put the crack pipe down, basically, and pay attention to the fan. But yeah, artist editor says he tried to he tried to watch the it's tried to watch sex education but it was to the wrong. So for yeah, I've heard a lot of people who say that it's more um um as I've heard a lot of people who say that it's too sort of Gen Z and stuff. I feel like that because I know but because I know my good friend cinnamon toast or lunch, and I hope to get him on one of these streams. Shout out to cinnamon, by the way.
Hi,
I
Cinnamon.
know yeah, I know I know he said he enjoyed it, but even he said it was a bit too sort of Gen Z and parts of the show, and that's kind of what put me from watching it because most of them Gen Zers just talk about such and such a cause, and I can't really be bothered with it. Just actually you pay attention if you're a fan of TV and stuff. You don't actually need all this shitty virtue signal and push. Just enjoy just enjoy the art for or what it is,
See,
because
I
that's
also
what.
watched it as soon as Shooty got
Mhm.
announced because I was like Matthew. I did not have a clue who he was. I was like, it's a bloke. That's my main thing I was worried about. I'm happy. But I hadn't seen him. And
Yeah,
what I'll say for him in sex education, he's got a very emotionally charged, a very sort of hard hitting at times storyline. Because
yeah,
basically, his main storyline is his bully becomes his love interest. So there's a lot of layers to that. There's a lot of hard work, like acting scenes you have to do.
I'm
And he
sorry.
pulls it
I'm
off.
I'm sorry, but the guy that was giving me shit in school, I smacked him in the mouth, basically. But that's a different story for another day. So that doesn't really make any sense.
Oh no, I gave you
From
the like the
you.
most. I gave the most broad strokes like description
Yeah.
of what
So.
what actually the show does. But like I said, he's not got any. Like I
Mhm.
said, that's my point though. There was certain scenes where Shooty was very much the center of it. He was and he had to pull it off, and he did. So that gave me an impression of this guy's at least got some chops. That makes me think maybe he can pull off the sort of gravitas and those really important key scenes that the Doctor has to just be the center of
Yeah.
the room and just pull off what he needs to in that moment to save the day.
Yeah, and after I absolutely agree with everything you've said, and if you actually finished watching the Fast and Furious movies, don't forget you're supposed to be coming on for that retrospective. Jeremy, you see, I think I forgot what about that. I haven't forgotten, and
I,
man,
I,
never
I,
forget.
I could say Daniel never forgets anything. He will remember whatever you say to him.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the thing, Ian. Hello, Ian. Thank everybody. This is the lovely Ian, Mega Geek. We will
yeah.
exactly. We will have to see.
Yeah, and I actually meant to say congratulations, because obviously you're starting to put together our season 2, Rebecca. Go like you put out your user today, so give it I'll give it watch after the podcast um and and obviously you've told me a bit about the next season, so and it's all completed and whatever. I'll encourage everybody, everybody in this channel to go and check out season where Rebecca Gold, and that's something I'm real looking forward to. As I've told you before, and you're right to the first season, and you're always welcome to come back on and talk about and talk about season with us, and hello to Obi guys
Hi, Gobby.
who who has who has actually been put some fantastic on, and as of and I would just like to say to you as Elsa, or keep up the good and keep up the good work of the content, and anyhow, so um so obviously I'm a bit more excited for the sixth of myself, and to be honest with you, it's nice that we're getting it's nice that we're getting some new sort of villains and a trailer, because yes, I know my name's is Davros, and absolutely adore the exaggerate but I'm also getting to the point. Now I'm also getting um, here. I'm saying to myself, is there any more stories you can do with the Alex and the Cybermen, particularly with the Cybermen, every Cyberman, because the majority of the Cybermen and stories have been hit on miss, and like a lot of them have been more have season like and are bad Cybermen and stories. Jesus Christ, are a load of all basically. So yeah, so it's kind of so it's kind of refreshing that we're getting some different villains basically.
Oh yeah, was as soon as we got hints of celestial. God, I can't speak. As soon as we got hints of Toymaker, I was like, yeah, I was like, oh no, that's it's something from the classic, so it still is in the tradition of the show, like it should be for the 60th. But it's such an inspired choice, I think. Like you said, we've had Daleks, we've had Cybermen, we've had the Master a lot. Like we've had certain characters just again and again used for finales or 60ths. And I think Russell needed to have that new villain, something that we can really be intrigued by and really try and learn. Oh, what's his deal? How's he going to play it? How's he going to mess with the Doctor? because I think that's the problem. When you do use the same villains again and again, they almost become a bit predictable. And I think we don't want that, really.
And as and as I've said to you behind the scenes, don't try anything cute and cuddly or like beep them. You can just tell he's going on the best side. To be totally honest.
Well, he's definitely got the whole really cute vibes. So we'll see if that's just a
Yeah,
coy.
but but you never trust anything you because you'll be able to use it to an advantage.
That's what I mean. It could be a very clever sort of ploy, a very clever, don't think I'm going to do something. But I'd tell you what, as an effect, because that looked practical to me, maybe it wasn't, but it
Yeah,
looked like that is an impressive effect. I think considering Beep is such a weird design and it's such an out there design, to realise that is not an easy thing to do. And they seem to, off the trailer, we'll see in actual motion how it works, because something can look very good in a trailer but not actually work in the episode. So we'll see how it works. But that if they pull that off, I think that's enough of a feat, a little bit.
yeah. So Charlotte, yeah, and obviously, so Charlotte, so on to our other favorite shows because people need to know more about how much of an interesting person you are, and I think to be no, and that's a compliment,
I know,
by
that's
the
why I'm
way,
laughing.
because because your mama or able to sort of branch out because I'm still sort of a piece of them but Charlotte it's always been willing to give some stuff a try and I know a show that she of has had its fair she you're a contra there sit a minute so can you explain into an idea of the fan and franchise was absolutely was absolutely jack shit about them um, what the hell's going on the whole Henry Cavill sort of sort of
Yeah, so
situation.
there's a lot to unpack with the whole Witcher television saga,
Yeah.
because it is become a bit of a saga now. So people to know, I first got introduced to the Witcher world through the games because I'm a big gamer as well. That's another thing I quite like to do to relax. And the third
Yeah.
game, which is the Witcher Wild Hunt, that was such a brilliant sort of open world RPG, and that's role playing game.
Yeah.
So it's where you played Geralt, who was the main character, and it was written
Yeah.
brilliantly. And like the voice, the Cockrell, who does the voice for Geralt, had this really distinct gravelly voice, and he just
Yeah.
did the lines, the dialogue so well. And it was such a realized version of this world because the game was based off a series of books that was originally by a Polish author called Andrzej
Yeah.
Starkowski. And so the books came first, and then a Polish, I think they're Polish game studio, basically adapted the books sort of into their own version in the games. So it has a massive
Yeah.
fan base for people who don't understand. And The Witcher, it's got a very loving and also passionate fan base because it's got the game sort of
Yeah.
side to it, and then you've got the books, which I've now read. And the books are brilliant. It's sort of this idea of it's dark fantasy because it's set in a sort of medieval setting with monsters and creatures. And the Witcher is a monster hunter, to put it sort of very simply. But they are created, they're mutants, basically humans in the Witcher world made witches to fight monsters. So they're sort of this necessary evil that the common people sort of despise and hate, but they need them. So it's sort of a really interesting position the witches are just in the world naturally. So then you've got Geralt, who is a bit different to typical witches, and he actually tries to help a bit more, because the usual witcher just gets paid, does his job, and then goes to the next one. He doesn't really get involved. But Geralt actually does get involved, and he gets emotional, and he has ties to people which he probably shouldn't have usually. So that's a lot. That's a very condensed version of The Witcher before the show. Like I said, and I knew about it off the games, and then Netflix adapted it, and they cast Henry Cavill, and I can't think of a more perfect casting than Henry, because he knows the books. He's a massive fan of the books. He's a gamer, so he's played the games. And if you've done those things, you get a really good idea of who Geralt is. And he's not an easy character to sort of get underneath the skin of, because like I said, he's a contradiction. There's so many aspects to him. His morality, how he treats people, how he views the world. There's so many different aspects. And Henry got that. And he sort of, as well as getting that, he did his own spin. So I would say his Geralt is, I would say he's a little bit more witty. He's a little bit more sort of dry with his sense of humour. And that's definitely something Henry's brought to it. But then he understands the beats, that he can be quite closed off as a character. But that's because he's quite emotional when he shouldn't be. So all those things.
Yeah.
And season 1, it had some bits that were really close to the books. Really close. Like you could tell they didn't want to change a lot. But you started to see little changes from the source material in season 1. But like I said, at that point, it was still pretty recognizable. And then season 2, they did really big changes, like completely missed out storylines that were in the books. And then they did their own storylines. There were certain characters who were important in the books, but they got even more in like screen time and relevance in the show. And some of them happened to be some of the female characters. But you still had Henry there. You still had some other very good actors there.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, they took some really big departures. And the thing is, if you take departures in a big way, then you're going to struggle to adapt other future story beats. If you're trying to still tell the fans, yes, we're adapting the books, we're being close to the source material. And it's like, well, it's like one example is Geralt has got a few Witcher, they call each other brothers, but they're not. But that's because they're both sort of, they go through the same trials, they go through the same experiences, so they're very close. And there was one of them called Eskel, who was in the books, and he's like one of the few that Geralt was close to. And he gets introduced in one episode and killed off in the same episode that he's introduced in. Like, that was one example of why on earth are you killing off main characters that have got a lot of storylines, that have got a lot of potential you could do with, basically. But no, he got killed off. And there was other bits where Geralt was sort of being put in situations which didn't really suit his character.
Yeah.
And you could see that Geralt was slowly, like, I don't think it was as bad as some people made out, but you were starting to see he was gradually getting reduced a bit. his storylines, his presence, when he should be the center point. He should be the character you're following because it's his story. So there were little things in season 2 that you were like, maybe it's not all a perfect like behind the scenes. And then we suddenly got an announcement that Henry was leaving. And then that put a lot of things into perspective as to because he had made comments in interviews, because Henry's a professional. He's very polite and he would never overtly criticize, but he would say little things about not being true to the books, not following the books, his wording was very, he had to fight. I remember in one interview, he basically said in season 2, he had to fight the writers, the writing room, to have Geralt to be this sort of wise individual, which he is. Because another thing is with witchers, because of the mutations and what happened to their bodies, they age very slowly. So they can look about 30, but they're about 90, actually, in real sort of time. So Geralt is an old soul. He's been around for a long time, so he is wise. In the books, he even has these sort of philosophy. He sort of talks philosophy even at times in the books. And Henry said in interviews he had to fight to get that side in the show. But there was another big thing, and we learned this after the fact, that there's a bit in season 2 when Roach gets killed, and Roach is Geralt's horse. And if anybody's even just played the games, they don't even have to have read the books. Roach means a lot to Geralt. He's not just a horse. He's his sort of constant companion on the road. Like, if I were to compare it a little bit, it's sort of like how the Doctor sees the TARDIS. That sort of constant companion, that constant presence, so they're quite attached to it. And that's how Geralt sees Roach. And the writers came out and admitted in an interview that, originally we were going to have Geralt crack a joke. We were going to have him have this really funny line when he finds his horse dead. And Henry basically was like, no, Geralt would never do that. That's not in character. I'm not saying it. And he actually picked his dialogue in that scene that was better.
So basically, he and familiarized himself with the books and the games and all that sort of stuff. And
no,
he said
he knew it. He said, he didn't have to go back.
And he said to the showrunners, hang on a minute, that's not how to, and that's not how to pull. Sort of thing that this is a source material, stick to the source material, and is that kind of what shot him in the foot with the Aussies, because obviously they kind of wanted to sort of steer the ship in a different direction.
Well, Henry knew it. It's sort of how, like, we say, we feel like we know the Doctor. He knows Geralt. He adores the books. He adores the games. He spent hours and hours in the games. So he just knew instantly, looking at that line, that's not in my character. I know what what he did was he basically fought so hard that they went, okay, we trust you. We're going to let you pick your own dialogue. And what he actually did was he quoted some of the books. He picked a passage that Geralt said in the books when he thinks somebody he loves has died. And it's a whole speech about death and facing it sort of peacefully and passing over. And he said that. And fans, when that scene went out, were absolutely praising it because it was perfect. And then we found out afterwards, no, that was all Henry. The writers, if they would have had their way, it would have been a joke. And it's just like that just shows these writers don't understand what they're writing when it comes to these characters. And so you get the impression Henry probably had to speak up quite a bit and fight quite a bit to get certain things in the show.
Yeah.
So the sort of the fan feeling is he left because he didn't want that fight anymore. He didn't want this to have to always be opposing the writers. Because that's the other thing with Henry. He fully gets, like, you can see how much these things mean to him. Yes, very, Ian, some of them. Because I also watched at Christmas. So basically, it got announced Henry was leaving. The fans really were like, okay, what's going on? And then an ex-writer on the show, actually in an interview, because he's got another big project coming out, he actually came out and said, and this was his wording, the writers hate the books and the games. And he even said, they actively mock it, was his words. And he was in the writer's room in season 1 at least.
Oh, Jesus Christ in a handbasket. That sounds absolutely wonderful. I can imagine there was a lot of arguments behind the scenes.
So we had Henry leaving, we had this ex-writer come out. Like, so we had that example which the writers even admitted about the scene with Roach and how they were going to deal with it. And Henry's actually instincts were way better. So they went with Henry's. So yeah, it really feels like these writers just shouldn't have been given this property in the first place. Because they don't know it and they even possibly hate it.
And just to bring in a couple of comments from the regulars in the chat, Matthew says it's all about gatekeepers. Comment, and Sadak says that's the stubborn to know, and I can completely agree of Sadak was comment, but of course you can kind of that back to every sort of franchise that's sort of been like, I don't know how you would like overtaken by this horrible sort of politics. It's basically stifling the show and like of worsen it from everything that was designed to be, and a lot of these us tie into their assaulted Avis comments from us to weeks from us to weeks newspaper and of you that he did to me. He says that he's read all the scripts and they're rubbish because they only hear about the diversity and the message rather than the creative output and the IP itself. So
I think if there's anything I really would associate with the Witcher situation, it's the ego of the writers. Because you've got the IP like The Witcher, which is like it's one of the best known fantasy IPs out there. It's got international fans. The fact that these books started in Poland, they were based off Polish folklore. They got popular enough that they got translated to English. So then they got an English-speaking audience. And then they got a game based on the world, which did incredibly well. It's like when the year Wild Hunt came out, it got so many Game of the Year awards. It was renowned. It was being called one of the best RPGs, like of the last couple of years. At the time, it got so many accolades. So this IP has been proven with storytelling in the past. It's been proven that it works. And for these writers at Netflix to come in and say, no, our ideas are better than the books or the games, or even somebody like Henry who clearly knows what he's talking about. It's like, because they also, so it got announced Henry was leaving, and then at Christmas, which was always going to, which they'd already announced this spin-off show, which acted as a prequel, basically called Blood Origin. And the Witcher world, when it comes to lore, it's not like Tolkien. It's not got. It's not like that exhaustive detail of what's gone before. But there's definitely known points in the history. Like, we know how witches got made. We know the circumstances they got made. And we know of the big historical points in the story. So this prequel basically came along and was like, do you know that's history you know? Yeah, we're going to tell our version. So basically, this is how we say the witches started.
Like it's all these historical events, but they want to change. They will want to change all that for the sake of cultural whatever. As you know, as you see that all as you see that all the time as well, because you're starting to see that with sort of classic shows on iPad, Air and ITV Hub, and like their various other streaming services. That all these idiots are just basically ashamed of their past and are raising certain scenes and elements O's, and it's going to come to a point where you're at the bare bones of a show on a streaming service, so there's going to be often if the bar the opening titles and the end credits. That's how bad it
Well,
is.
it's not just that.
becoming.
It's like, okay, so you're going to give us your bit of the Witcher lore, your own version. And it was rubbish. It was boring. It was really bad. It was like, instead of, like I said, the Witchers in the lore got made because basically the world, which is known as the continent, I can't speak tonight, in the Witcher world, basically a big event happened called the Conjunction of the Spheres, which is, to put that in English, basically means a big magical event happened that nobody quite understood why, it just did. And monsters and all these creatures came into the world. And that's when all these things started to go wrong. But we never knew what caused that in the lore. We just knew it was a big event and it happened. So basically, the witches got created because the human mages, all the sorcerers, were like, we can't fight these things. Let's take people who we can just either kidnap or trick into being part of our sort of circle and horribly mutate them into witches. So there's so much context there. There's so many, like I said, it's a quite an interesting part of the history lot. But their version was, let's just get this
Yeah.
random elf and we'll just turn him into a witcher in like a forest with a load of other nobodies. And also when he turns, it's gonna look like he's gonna look like a knockoff Hulk. I'm not
Jesus.
kidding. It's like, here's
I,
our Witcher origin.
I just want to smash my head off this keyboard, and I haven't actually seen the show, but the way you're hyping it sounds absolutely horrific.
Oh yeah, like I said, that was how
Oh
the
God.
witches, and also this mystical event, the conjunction of the spheres, literally happened because one mage, who folks happened to be played by Lenny Henry. This one mage
Oh Jesus,
basically
not
got
Lenny Henry. Oh,
this Lenny Henry, as I just referred to him because his acting was not good, basically got a bit too big in
he's
his own
shit.
boots. Yeah, he got a bit too big in his own boots. Went into like another another universe, got some magic power, and got power hungry. And he caused the event to happen because another mage had to sacrifice himself and Lenny to save the day. And just by pure coincidence and by pure
Yeah,
accident, a load of magic went into the sky, and that's how we got our conjunction. Doesn't that sound
yeah.
more interesting than just it just happened and these fantastical beasts came into the world and we don't know why and we had to fight against them?
Yeah, it sounds more interesting and more in depth the way Cavill and others wanted it portrayed and the fans. This is kind of one of the reasons why. This is kind of one of the reasons I. This is kind of one of the reasons everybody and all these fandoms get pissed off just with them. It's supposed to be the fans are the paying customer piss all off because they're the ones that'll buy the DVDs, buy the t-shirts, buy the games, buy the buy anything with the franchises logo on it, ink, character, whatever. So don't piss away that us or in fact and be simple, but the problem is the problem is every franchise is run by people. Each cycle system on everything to on down just because the Iran's the you're assholes, basically.
Oh yeah,
That's
and
all it
and
is.
it shows in the characters, I find, and I especially found that with Origin because it's set like 1,000 years. I can't quite remember how many years before the main show. So
Yeah,
humans aren't about yet. It's all elves. They're the
yeah,
dominant sort of race. And like you've got this sort of it starts off with like saying they've had this 1,000-year war, all these different clans. And the king
yeah,
is like, I'm going to do a peace treaty. Like, I've sorted it. I've got everybody to come and sign. We're going to stop this war. We're going to, like, be able to feed our people, stop all the violence. But he's got a sister who, and I'm not kidding, basically
yeah,
makes a little coup happen with Lenny Henry and another elf. And she kills her brother and all of the other clans, like all the other elves, the leaders, and then proclaims she was the one in the right. Her way was better. Her brother's way wasn't going to work. She had to kill them all. And then within like 2 days of her being empress, you literally get the characters like the generals who helped her kill everybody say, "Oh, we're running out of food." Well, maybe if you hadn't stopped the peace treaty, which would have stopped the fighting, which might have made the food situation better. But no, you've just wiped everybody out and are proclaiming yourself as the leader.
Yeah, and I've
But
just
she's in the right.
yeah, I've just seen a comment that's actually killed me from a few. It gets it gets a funny comment and every history. Although that's a bit more sort of cheesy and Christmas accurate from a few years ago. He's a bit more sort of
Matthew, I can tell you a bit more, which I know you're going to have fun with. When he's like this Hulk type thing and he can't control himself, the way she calms him down, this other elf who happens to be a bard, she sings to him and he calms down. So they basically rip off Black Widow and Hulk from the Avengers movies.
Oh God, have fun with have fun with that. So yeah, so moving some after on from now. After is the second show. So I showed that me and yourself, that me and yourself are still in the process of viewing for the people that actually subscribe. There's an actually come back on watch for almost now. Obviously, obviously you're still in the middle of series 5 or I just hear of you at the moment because obviously I'm still catching up and Charlotte actually Charlotte basically the magician that she knows all the tricks and I'm just like this urge that's catching up on these reviews. But yeah, so I just so I seen from a couple of media outlets and it's confirmed that the show was coming back for 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 the episodes. So I just want to get your reaction on it, or do you think the show's had its time, or are you happy that it's back?
I'm going to have to be careful because I can't spoil for you because I'm going to have to be so careful what I say here. All I'll say is the last series, which Daniel hasn't watched, folks, that's why I'm being careful, it ended in a way that I think a lot of people felt a bit hard done by and a bit like I expected more. So I think purely a bit of this, why it's come back, is to sort of have another go at the sort of the ending they attempted last series. And also, I am intrigued because I just seeing this team again, seeing the writers Jed and his team. I mean, I'm looking forward to what they're gonna do. Basically, what twists they could do, how they could pick up from where they left.
Yeah.
There was a couple of like character beats that were sort of starting to get teased a bit in the last series. And there's one
Yeah.
I sort of told you about, which isn't a spoiler, that I'm hoping they carry on and they actually work a bit more
Yeah.
with some of the
Yeah. I know
main
the one.
cast.
Yeah, I know the one you give me because you've spoke to me about the us behind the scenes. I know what you're referring to. So yeah.
And I just seeing Martin, seeing Vicky, seeing oh, who's Ted? I'm having a blank.
Adrian.
Adrian,
Timber.
sorry. Like seeing Adrian. It's been a while since I've spoke Line of Duty. Seeing those three, I just adore them. So just to see those three back for 3 episodes is enough for me to watch, if I'm being perfectly honest. But like I said, but I really also, I think 3 episodes is a good amount. It means there won't be too much sort of
Yeah.
extra flab. It means it'd be very lean, I would suspect. And it means they're going to have to
Yeah.
get quite quick to their point and then sort of tell the story they want to tell. And
Yeah.
sometimes I think, especially in the sort of thriller, sort of crime genre this show's in, sometimes having a bit more restraint actually makes your writing better. So I think that could help them a lot as
Yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
as well, like, come on, the BBC probably was begging them, like, please, we need viewers. Can you come back and do some more?
Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose. And I suppose. I suppose as well, it's always nice to have. It's always nice to have a fellow or in a show as well. It's always nice to have a fellow show as well. It'll give it a bit of a home. He's sort of give it a bit of a home. He sort of feel for on on seen, of course of course spoke over the I'll, of course we'll cover the 3 episodes eventually, but we still have to finish series 5 and then series 6, which I know because speaking to Charlotte, I know that divides the whole fan base. So I'm kinda sort of a bit just to see what the hell I'm going to be in for because I know based on Charlotte's reaction, she wasn't the happiest there on.
There were times where it frustrated me, and you fully saw that because at that point, I didn't know you
Yeah.
weren't watching it, so I sort of just got my emotions out. And then afterwards, you were like, "Oh, I'll give this show a go." After you heard me sort of vent my feelings.
It's because I want to share your pain because you're my best friend and that's what best friends do. So, and if yeah, and of course as well, because you're like my therapist behind the scenes, so it's kind of nice on me to return to the on if ever a bit and yeah, and the reason why I'm kind of the reviews and hold is because a lot with I'll always go on behind the scenes with if both myself and Arlo. So the two of us haven't really had time to actually prepare for a review. So it was only on hold for a bit, but now it's just starting to calm down will eventually get back into reviewing the rest of Series 5 and then hopefully Series 6 soon as well. But yeah, but all the previous reviews are all up on the channel for you guys check out as well. So yeah, so yeah, the final, so yeah, so the final topic for the sh- story, do you think that as do if I think that do you think that do you think that franchises and people in power are starting to um are starting if I um are starting to finally realize we have to make money because 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 before it was all kind of before it was all kind of before it was all kind of and and stuff, but I've noticed I've noticed a shift in terms of culture getting back to surely or it should be when what's your opinion in that Charlotte?
I think it's going to be a long process because it got so
Yeah,
embedded at a point that you can't quickly get that out of the system, like Hollywood or
yeah,
BBC or just the industry in general. But I think a couple of the big sort of players have started to notice. I think a
yeah,
big thing is you look at what Zaslav at Warner Brothers is doing,
yeah,
and he seems to be very sort of, we're going to go with what makes money. We're going to go with what's going to get us better returns.
yeah,
We're not going to just chase an imaginary audience, or we're not going to put certain priorities which aren't going to benefit us first. And Warner's massive, so I think if a big studio or place like that can basically get a film like Batgirl, that they literally were like, we can't release this, it's going to damage the brand, and they even got pushback for that because it happened to have a Latino, I think it was, lead. So the fact that they're going, no, we're not going to put this out, I think is a big
yeah,
sign that parts of the industry, and the fact that, like we said, what Russell came out and said recently, that was quite frank and that was quite truthful, and that was him calling people out in the industry. So I think, yes,
yeah,
we're starting, but it's going to be it's not going to be an instant thing. It's going to have to get its way out the system first. But that's the other thing. It's like I
yeah,
said, I'm a big gamer, and there's a massive thing with Hogwarts Legacy at the moment, which if people don't
yeah,
know, that's a big open world RPG game that's coming out this month. And because it's a Harry Potter IP, certain
yeah.
bits of the game journalists and others have done nothing short of try to make this game disappear, have tried to make this game just not happen.
Is that because of the on or if they'll see that these dates are getting triggered by?
Yeah, because basically it's Harry Potter, so technically
Yeah,
JK's going to get some money off this,
yeah,
and it's part of that brand. So it's purely
mm,
that, because the devs have not done anything, the developers have not done
yeah,
anything that's attacking anybody. They've not said anything which is could be deemed as offensive or hurtful or anything. It's purely the connection. And they're going ballistic. They're even getting to the point, some of them, and this is what I mean by, I think they're getting so on the extreme end, that even people who might have not noticed this stuff, who might not have been bothered by it, are actually standing up. And this is the other bit why I mentioned this. They're even, some of the people who hate this purely because of JK are even getting to the
Yeah.
point that they are pretending they have made fake Twitter accounts and fake social media accounts of some of the big YouTubers that are covering Hogwarts Legacy, and they're spoof accounts, and they're using them to say absolutely horrible things to try and make the community that's looking forward to this game look bad.
So
So
yeah, very similar to what happened to the Doctor Who and a few years ago that myself and you and the various others were basically dragged through the mud basically and just hammered constantly. Is that what's happening with the whole Harry Potter fandom as
well, it's like
well?
I said, it's people who have been covering the game. It's YouTubers that have been quite positive in their coverage. They've been quite open that they're excited for this game. Because also the developers for this game have been really transparent with the community. They've even talked with some of the YouTubers. They've even been in their chats. So it's a
Yeah,
lovely community that's quite open. And so they're targeting them but that's been happening the last couple of weeks because the game's coming out this month. It's like a last sort of ditch, it comes across to me, effort, like I said, to try and make this
yeah,
game not a success. But do you know what? All of this, and there's been so many articles, there's been so much noise. Even they announced, was it last week, that one of the voices in the game is Simon Pegg. And as soon as that got announced, he got attacked on Twitter for being a part of the game. So that's
yeah.
what I mean. It's those tactics.
I'm not Simon Pegg's biggest fan, right? But I wouldn't go and attack I wouldn't go and attack the people because that's insanity, and that's all these people who have got is their own insanity though, and they each other for out basically. You see, the thing is, the Charlotte, they're not as powerful as they once
Well, this is what I was going to
were.
say. All this noise
Mhm.
they've made about this game. Do you know what it's done? It's made more people want to buy it. It's
Yeah,
currently top of the pre-order charts on Steam,
yeah,
which is, if people don't know, that's one of the biggest computer sort of online stores for the gaming. It's the top of PlayStation chart. It's second on Xbox's pre-orders.
yeah,
And I've seen so many comments saying, I wasn't going to buy this game. I wasn't going to support it, but I'm seeing
yeah,
so many people try and tell me I can't buy this game, that I can't enjoy it, that, do you know what, as a protest, I'm going to buy it. So that's what I mean. I think now people are realizing if that they've got a
yeah,
voice just as much as some of the activists or some of the types like that, and they're wanting to show that.
yeah,
So if companies can see that, and if other companies are already starting to see that, then I think there is a way out of this, basically. And like I said, and the Hogwarts Legacy thing has only proved that to me. Oh, of course it is, Matthew.
Matthew. Yeah, Matthew, we're on the post tonight. I've actually seen posts from these idiots. Could you get all sorts coming up on your feed? Because I follow a lot of um interesting people throughout pop culture, like and from the space bit, like the Mega Ian and the various others and the snowball. So I've had a bit of So I've had a slight snip into the sanity in your spawn me a few, because I've seen a couple of posts that are getting triggered by Hufflepuff, so you're not a million miles away there of that comment.
Yeah, but like I said, the whole point that this game is already incredibly doing well on pre-orders.
Yeah.
Pure, like I said, it was always going to do well because it's a Harry Potter game. And I can say as somebody who grew up reading the books, who watched the movies, we've not had a proper game that we can be our own character in this universe. Because you create your own character, you can be in Hogwarts, you can be a student, you can do all the things that when you were first reading the book, you imagined yourself doing. So this game, like I said, fair doozy, and like it's a part of my generation's childhood. So it's such a big part.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same as Ian, but I can kind of appreciate your Charlotte's coming, for and like of course I'm not going to be a fan of everything that my guests actually come on and talk about, but that's the whole point about this podcast, is that it's not just it's not just about it's about giving you guys a voice, and I feel I've passed like panels that I did in the past. People just sort of talk over each other, and I kind of want to give to give people a better opportunity to speak and say what they feel about pop culture. That's kind of because that's kind of our YouTube channel was supposed to be. Yes, you hear a lot from Ian Redick, but when have guests on, it's important that I'll say what you have to say. So that's kind of the reason why that series or aims is existing. But carry on, Charlotte. You're on your you're on a roll.
No, like I said, and I think once upon a time there would have been not a lot of fight, I feel, against this sort of behaviour. But if anything, like I said, the Harry Potter community, the people who are already excited about this game, are actually standing up and saying, no, you won't tell me I cannot enjoy this game. We've literally got certain streamers on Twitch telling people, oh, don't stream this game, don't buy this game, support this game. Literally, it's that sort of level. And I think when you get to that much of an extreme, you make people want to fight and go, no, you're not controlling what I enjoy. And I think the fact that I'm seeing a bit more of that recently, like I said, the whole Witcher thing, the fans have been very vocal about Henry leaving, about the treatment, about possibly what the writers' attitudes were. That has caused a massive backlash. And I'm seeing more and more now examples of people actually voicing their feelings and saying, no, we're not going to just be told to shut up anymore. And I feel like at one point we were. And now fandoms are starting to get a bit of a voice again.
Yeah.
And I think if we can carry on that, and like I said, if we get certain people in certain studios in the right positions who actually do care about money and making, well, it's not just even that. It's like I was chatting with my brother, and he sort of phrased it a bit like this, and I thought this is a good way to phrase it. He sort of said, in any other industry, there's this thing called quality control. There's somebody who's outside the process whose pure job is to look at something and say, no, that's not okay, or that needs more work, or that needs to get sent back. In any other job, that's normal. And he sort of said, in the entertainment industry, we've not had that. And I think, that's what I think we need. We need quality control back. We need individuals who are outside of the creative process who can actually go, no, that's not fit for purpose. We're not putting that show out. We're not putting that movie out. Yeah, sort of an editor, but even more.
Yeah.
But it's because I think a lot of things could have been made better or stopped or just not gone to the state they were if certain individuals didn't have this uncontrolled power. So I'm just hoping that in the next couple of years, because it will take a couple of years, I'm not denying that, even though I'm a bit optimistic. And like you, I do think we are starting to come out of this now. But it's going to take a couple of years. It's not going to be an instant thing.
Yeah. So just quickly before we finish up and before I get Charlotte to our shout outs, I would just like to say to the chat, thank you for being here in the chat, and it's good to see some it's good to see some it's good to see some new subscribers us in the chat, and I hope you continue like what you are seeing from the channel. We do all sorts in the channel. We cover pop culture. I do all the occasional and I of wrestling because I'm a big wrestling fan. I do study I do streams of Sean from the Nerd the Hall. You have you have friendly debates, and it's always amazing because it's because his Charlotte, it's the head moderator, and she's not on streams, and she's not got a clue what me and Sean are actually talking about on those streams, so it's hilarious.
I just I make my own fun in the chat for those streams. Daniel's probably noticed I just make my own fun.
Yeah, because you start using Ian on in the chat like you did the last one, which was actually quite funny. So we'll shout out to Sean, and Sean, get in contact if you want to do another wrestling and stream. You might actually try an old school review, and we do stuff, and obviously you do stuff on the PS Tourism. Here you can here you can watch me getting here you can watch me getting anime eating and every time a pal if and also do and I also do other recommendations re-record segment. Here I recommend and TV channels, movies, and YouTube channels that I enjoy watching. So that's what the Ish channel is. So if you like any of that, guys, stick around and hit that like button. So without any further ado, we shall have your shout outs. Where can people find the um, where can people find the and what channels do you guest on for the benefit of the new subscribe us in the chat?
So I don't really do a lot of social media, as you maybe could tell by some of the way I was speaking. But you'll catch me mainly on YouTube. You'll see me on Type 40 Live on the Thursdays, as well as Rebecca Gold, or Mega Geek, as he's known on those streams, where we talk Doctor Who. And that could be a whole mixture of
Yeah.
things, a bit of the current news, a bit of the rumours of late. And then we sort of, because it's the 60th year coming up, we're going to be talking a lot about what's gone before and sort of our love for it. And you'll also catch me on Type 40 Podcasts, which is a pre-recorded podcast where I've done some reviews. For my sins, I watched pretty much all of Flux and did reviews on those, and also a few other podcasts I've popped up on Type 40. And you'll also catch me on the TARDIS Zone, where we do watch-alongs of New Who and Classic Who. So those are the two, and of course with Daniel for Line of Duty and whenever else he wants me.
Yeah. So as always, guys. I'm not the type of YouTuber with a schedule. I just don't like to go with the flow. Because I tend to enjoy YouTube a bit better. Also, whatever happens in the channel, and I'll bring all the streams and content that you all for, but eventually, and this is and you notice as actually probably the I'm probably one of the most in YouTubers on various different topics that I cover, especially on especially on the wrestling records and streams that I do with on always always remember Sean Randy Orton is awesome, and don't you forget it. You're still wrong about that. By the way, so y- so y- so yeah, remember to like, share, subscribe to Scottish Davros and friends so of pop culture. I know, I know, I know, um, if channel to all the other channels you see out there covering pop culture. So remember to like and share the stream around and hit that signal notified for any new content that's coming up, and I will hopefully see you during the week. I might work up a career so stick around with so stick around for those. My the the FIFA streams and the PS Omen um, are actually on hiatus to um, due to issues of a shoulder at the moment, so I'm giving my shoulder a bit of a rest because Charlotte knows what I'm like. I do streams a day on those PS4 streams, sometimes even or or four a day, depending on how I'm feeling. But yeah, I'm giving my shoulder a bit of a break at the moment because both Charlotte and all have advised me to take breaks and was for that very purpose, but I still, but it takes me a long time to actually listen um, 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 to, to actually listen to um, to, to actually listen to everybody. I've just got one of these personalities, so I'll have a good week, and I might see you during the week for some more your cards.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Yeah. So here is the so here is the best trail or a new YouTube created for me by my good friend and Charlotte's good friend Rob and Ian, who are hopefully I'll get on an episode of this podcast because usually he's usually got a couple of things to say for himself as well.
Lee,
So,
never. Never. Don't know who
yeah,
you're
yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, right. So right. So see you soon, guys. Thanks for the support and remembering look after each other because um um the society's go on the shit. But here's the channel to the ill again, guys.